Okay, so today's July 4th, 2021, and we're going to continue our discussion on the Desiderata Extinctionati. So I think I hear an echo. Okay, okay. So let's see. Does everyone want to start off with a discussion, a debrief on the interview with Dmitry Orlov? Does anyone have questions or any ideas you want to start off with?
Well, just happy Independence Day, by the way. If you're American,
Right.
and Thanksgiving if you're English.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I thought that. I thought it was a nice interview, but I was surprised. I wasn't expecting that, and I didn't quite expect it to go there. But we were just talking earlier about how close it is to Kevin McCann, and I hope that's not a keyword. And yeah, that kind of far right thing. I noticed he kind of veered away from my questions about Christianity and his belief and stuff, but I get the idea that he is, probably Orthodox Christian. So yeah, I was thinking about that. Here's the thought I was thinking about that. Is that I was thinking about the unifying the left and the right, and the thought occurred to me that it's so easy. Well, no, that's the wrong word to say. It's the kind of code, I think, for the right is Christianity. That they are united. They're kind of a block. And on the left, everything's just fragmented and everybody's, riddled with identity politics. But it seems to me the far right in particular, they can take it as read that they're all Christians. And they seem united in a way that just doesn't. They speak the same language. They don't get factional like the left. And I was wondering if, if you united the left and the right, say with an ARG and a cult leader, right? I would imagine you could, split the right down the lines of Christianity, because my thinking was that if you want a cult leader like Lionel Schnell, if you saw that video, that the one about him being a cult leader, just basically putting it on, just pretending. If you were a kind of Andy Kaufman kind of cult leader like that, if you can pretend, say in America, you can go and do what he did and do, like praise chaos. You basically be like a televangelist and an evangelical preacher. Just a spoof about, chaos magic and stuff. And I'll tell you, you'll split them, because half the people would go with it and say, no, it's just a funny flavor of Christianity, which is lots of funny flavors of Christianity in America, from like Shakers and the guys who handle snakes, and the Mormons, which are complete, Mormonism is a complete heresy. But American Christians don't seem to know that. They think that, oh, Mormonism is a flavor of Christianity. It's the worst heresy you've ever heard of. But so I think that some people would get it if you just put on an act and you did that kind of preacher, and then you did one where you do, kind of a holy Indian faker guy. You just do an Andy Kaufman. Most of the people know that it's kind of a joke and it's kind of a thing. Some of the guys would get into it, but I think you would split the right, because some people would say, no, this guy's making a mockery of Christianity. This guy's a Satanist. And the other guys would say, no, it's Christian. It's okay. And you would split the right smack down the middle, wouldn't you? Which I think would be a very beneficial thing. I kind of like the idea of uniting the left and splitting the right in one movement, right? Because the right, nobody splits the right. The right is just homogeneous, right? But I think that would do it, don't you?
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
It's kind of like
something
you could get a lot of people you could get to sing, like Sacha Baron Cohen was singing. He told all these guys that the national anthem of Kazakhstan is, throw the Jew down the well and stuff. And he gets a whole bar in Texas to sing, throw the Jew down the well. And they don't think there's anything wrong with it. So it's so powerful to take on that comic role, and just some guys would get it, and you would cause controversy. And some guys, you might run the risk of some guy, having a hit on you. But in principle, I kind of thought it's an excellent way to split the right, which is kind of, would be nice to do.
But how would you achieve that?
Well, you would do exactly what the Lionel Schnell video did. You would say that, you're the cult Extinctionati, and you're a cult leader, and you do this Andy Kaufman thing. And it keeps everybody guessing. It's like some people think, oh, it's genius. Some people think, oh, well, the cult leader's lost his mind. He's like, what's the hell he's doing? So it's perfect for an ARG. But the thought occurred to me, if you did that, you might unite the left, because you wouldn't give them any handhold to, any purchase because it's just so damn confusing. But because you were behaving like an evangelical on the one hand, and then maybe a Indian guru on the other, and then maybe occasionally a Satanist just to spice it up. And some people would think, oh, this is genius, you're uniting all the religions. And then some people, like flower children Christian types, like we know one of them, would be outraged and say, no, this is evil, it's satanic. But that would be great, I think.
Yeah. I had another question about Dmitry, because in the invitation and you composed most of the invitation, Hugh, we engaged him on the idea of our philosophical views and the ARG, and those things were not really discussed with him. Do you think it's worth engaging with him again on this, or should we just shelve it and leave him for the moment, where he is, and concentrate on Faulty and other works, other interviews?
Well, I thought that we kind of exhausted it. I tried to leave it open to him and ask him, do you have any questions from us? And he went like, nah. So, okay, well, where do you go with that? I mean, he had no curiosity about us or where we were coming from or anything. It was just, but I must say that, he's semi-famous, minor celebrity, let's say. And I've often found with those guys that the more famous they are, the more egotistical they are, the more into themselves they are, and they couldn't give a continental fuck about you or the rest of the world or freaking anything. I mean, other than narcissistic supply and you adoring them, and yeah, they'll steal a couple of ideas from you, but they never say like, but what about you? They're not fascinated by anything other than themselves. And that's generally been my experience. I've been introduced to these guys that people say, oh, this is so-and-so and he's so famous and stuff. And every time I get introduced to them, I'm like, always goes down like a clanger, because all they want to do is talk about themselves, and they just want you to listen. And it gets very boring after a while.
There seemed to be an element of that with Alison too. I think in the last reply to Sophie, where she finally refused to deal with us, I think she said something like it wasn't my style, or it wouldn't suit my. As though she'd already
not a good fit. Yeah, not a good fit.
Yeah, not a good fit. That's right. That's what she said. Yes, and you could see that she already had an image of where she was at and how everything was to be approached, and that was it. It was a finished up product. And please don't alter our design because we've just finished perfecting it and all this kind of thing, So.
Well, these guys are all cult leaders. I mean, all of them are minor cult leaders. And what they're saying is, I took a long time to come up with this philosophy of life, and I have my little groupies, and they all, we're all in this echo chamber together. We all reflect off each other. And that's my shtick. And so there are very few people that have a bigger goal. And so the reason why I spent so long and waited with Faulty was for him to fall flat on his face, because then he's listening, and he's like, finally somebody's might ask a question like, this isn't working. How do we do that? Yeah, hello. Finally, they're listening. But in general, I find that they are cult leaders that are just, self-absorbed. They just have their little following, and it's everybody from like Sam Mitchell to, Guy McPherson, and they just look at it.
There's a comfort zone
not
thing.
Going anywhere. They just regurgitate the same old stuff. It's just a mutual support group.
But they also seem to arrive at their own kind of comfort zone, which just when you mentioned Sam Mitchell reminded me of that, because I realised that with him after tuning into him for a very long time, that he didn't want his little, not so much his ideas, but he didn't want his whole approach and his way of doing things disturbed either. It was just like, I've gone so far and I can do this amount of work, and I don't want to be disturbed there. I just want to carry on this way because it sort of runs itself, and it's you're sort of semi-autopilot kind of thing. I think that's also an issue with it.
I think that when we engage with Pierre and Derek, and to a certain extent with Max, I didn't have this feeling. That I think that those guys hadn't got a big ego and were ready were really focused on the issue of nature of our planet, and they were not thinking so much about themselves and their followers. They were deeply interested in what we were doing. So maybe we should focus more on people who have not who have that sort of agenda and who are real activists, because really Alison is not an activist. She's a speaker. She's a very brilliant speaker. Dmitry is, I don't know what to define him. And same with Kevin. I don't know Sam Mitchell very well because I was never really, I just couldn't, there was something I just never really liked his things. So, but we had great interviews with Lear and Derek and Max. And I think we need to stay in touch with them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, in all the guys where we have a really bad hit rate, it's always ego. So it's like Stephen Hazen and stuff like that. It's endless. Like, okay, what do you want to interview me about? Let's see the questions. Basically, and then Guy McPherson, who would basically I got into huge arguments with him because he wanted me to edit out the comments and only leave ones that were favorable to him. And I said, oh, no way I'm going to be editing out the comments that are unfavorable to you. And he said, well, then I'm not going to do another interview. And I said, well, good luck then. But he said that to everybody, and he wound up falling off the interview circuit because no one would edit the user comments to just pick out the ones that are favorable to his ego. So, but you always come up against these guys who have an ego, and they're useless. You can't really do anything with them. But then you come up with real activists that they're not they had zero ego, and then they're all about the bigger picture and nature and activism and stuff. So, yeah, I agree. I think we should read those guys out. But
well, Max had agreed to interact with Faulty at some stage in a previous email about a couple of weeks ago. So I think we should keep that warm, because if we engage Faulty soon, it could be very interesting to offer him an opening into an activist in a camp, really on the ground, who's doing some fantastic work. And I think it might warm up Faulty,
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, okay. Well, then maybe we should discuss Faulty then. So the so the email, I was going to propose that. So okay, there were a couple of questions. To get a critical mass of points, collective action in terms of getting concrete outcomes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the aim, yeah, okay. Oh, well. Okay, these initial successful outcomes are critical to creating the credibility to create mass takeoff. Yeah, it's kind of tangential to the point, but yeah, you see, okay, this is the way I see it, and okay, let me test it on you and tell me if you agree, and then this is what we should say, is that it's kind of thinking the wrong way around. Is what you're doing with an ARG/cult is you are prepping the ground and waiting for your opportunity. You're not trying to get outcomes, and I mean, okay, you've got an outcome, but the same as, like, say, a sword fighter or a fencer has an outcome, yes, to win the fencing match, but that doesn't mean that every stroke is like, this is going to lead to a win. You can't tell. It's what you're doing is you're playing chess, and you can figure out the end game is to win, but you can't say in advance, we'll do this. Okay, it's completely unhelpful to say, like, by the third move, we must have captured 5 pieces. It's like, well, it was fucking retarded chess playing. You can't do that.
But that's the problem with organizers.
Yeah, you got to get out of that organizing mindset, because what you're really trying to do is you're trying to prepare people. So you do endless amounts of prepping and psychological prepping until the enemy makes a misstep. And then you take advantage of that misstep. So, for example, if your aim is to get 3,000 arrests, now the organizer thinks, well, what we'll do is in the autumn, we've got 100 people that will get arrested. So therefore, we'll do that, and that'll impress people so much that then, we'll set a target for the spring next year that we'll double it. And then we'll double it again, and we'll carry on doing it. And in 3 years, we'll have 3,000. It's very unlikely to happen, because the first time you do 100, the other side is going to respond. They're not static. Already look what happened in the UK, how the policing bill was a response to Extinction Rebellion. It was a direct response to their tactics. So their tactics were nullified in 1 year. And so the same is going to happen with the rest. They're going to look at it, and they're going to try and ridicule you. They're going to try everything they can to make, it's a very romantic idea. I completely get the idea that you get arrested and everybody goes, oh, look at that dedication. Oh, this guy's putting me to shame. I want to be part of that, and you get everybody's gin up, and you basically, get everybody's juices flowing, and then they go and do crazy shit and get, all become martyrs. But it can very easily be tipped the other way. Is you can get Piers Morgan and stuff on the BBC to say, look at these ridiculous people, and look at this. And he went to jail for 10 years. For what? For being a stupid, crusty idiot. And then basically you'll become a laughing stock. It'll go exactly the opposite way to the romantic thing. And then, so you will see your numbers whittle down. It's kind of an all or nothing bet. But you see what you're doing in terms of this more woo way, this kind of ARG way, is what you're doing is in the same situation, you would tell the members that, you would set up this expectation that we have this thing called the storm, like QAnon storm is perfect. You'd say, there's the storm coming. And then you would fetishize it, and you would have everybody, embellish it, train for it, practice it. The storm would eat, live, and breathe the storm. And then you wait. At some stage, the government's going to fuck up. They're going to go to war or do a draft, a very unpopular thing. And at that point, you say, now you flip the switch for the storm, and everybody's ready. And then you get 3,000 arrests in one fucking go. Then everybody's like, yes, get down there. Look, these people are, 3,000 people are getting arrested. I'm in. But you can't step up to that. You have to basically accept psychologically, and not, you can't actually, it's kind of like you can't beat Rome by saying, well, we'll take this foothill in this year, and then we'll advance to the Palatine, and then we'll move forward. It's like, no, you're never gonna do that. So it's kind of retarded. But so the thing, I think, there's a change of mindset. I really have to get Faulty out on the boat so I can train him on this kind of basic set of thinking, because the only way I think I can break through, because it's such an entrenched load of baggage. It's just crap that's just accretions of left-wing intellectual crap that is accreted on the left, and that's horseshit. It's all horseshit. So the idea that you can say get people to go and make these dramatic, life-changing actions, like get arrested and ruin your little liberal life, have your parents, basically disown you for being a radical extremist, and then and people are supposed to do this for something as abstract as 1.5 degrees in the climate change. No,
Can I
going to do that. They're going to do it maybe in 2018 in April, because they have a bit of an eco-anxiety. That eco-anxiety is only going to last for one campaign, and then it's all gone. Then you've got rid of your eco-anxiety, and there's nothing left. So what people will do, what history shows, is that people will fucking do anything for a cult and a cult leader. So you have to develop the cult and the like-minded mindset. Then you can basically unleash the cult members on anything you like. But if you have a look at the history of cults, from the Sarin attack and in Tokyo, or Oregon, where Rajneesh and stuff, they poisoned a salad bar and stuff. I'm not saying we should do that stuff, but what it indicates is, if you build up the cult, people are so loyal to the cult, they'll do anything for the cult. So then you can use them for something like climate action.
But that's why I think.
Meantime,
sorry, but I think priming Faulty now should be the priority, because okay, we can discuss his points, but getting him to go on the boat and starting to prepare him as a cult leader, or at the end of his email, he's actually saying, curious about the specifics of my role as prophetic leader. I mean, that could be a lead to lure him more into maybe going to see you and get him in. You could say, well, all will be revealed, and keeping a little bit, I think you need to work on getting him to you.
Yeah, maybe. Well, okay, so let's just see that you all agree with my thinking on that second question. Because my answer to that second question is really he's asking, like, who makes the decision? He asked, like, okay, who decides the demand, who negotiates, and who calls off the collective action, and we ensure this happens. These are needed to enable the opposition to save face and create trust over reliability. Yeah, so my answer to that is that it's him. He's Jesus. He's the cult leader. And so, you know, it basically, we can advise and stuff like that, but we might have influence, but it's entirely up to him. The reason why the left doesn't work is this obsession with collective action, and it never works because there's no way a group of crusty lefties are going to defeat a government. You cannot get consensus, and so it's useless to try and get collective action. It's better to just do the cult, and you say, like, we're not doing this, you know, we're not doing climate change in it. It's just a fucking game. Then everybody plays the game, and then basically Faulty is like a general in an army. So, you know, it was so like a field marshal. So as a field marshal, you can excuse the mosquitoes. As a field marshal, you can refer to your generals and stuff and take input. But eventually you have to come up with a plan, and it can only be an individual, because you can only get genius out of an individual. So, yeah, you can't get genius out of a committee. It just doesn't fucking work that way. And so the left's got to get over this stupid thing. Why have consensus? Because consensus means that you value consensus more than victory. So it is like, really, I think that the climate change and human extinction is fuck more important than your fucking morals and ethics and, you know, things. Everything must be consensus. Look, we'll get to that. But first, we got to deal with the fucking psychopaths. You can't just say, like, you know, I'm going to fight Hitler my way, and basically we're all going to do, you know, peace and dandelions. It's going to be consensus. No, you're going to get trampled by jackboots. You've got to do Dorothy, and you need a leader, and then he fucking decides. So then you say, like, okay, Faulty, you are it. You make the fucking decision. We support you, we do. But at the end of the day, it only works. The reason why you have an ARG, and the reason why it's so cultish, right, is because basically you need to work on the individual rebel to get the ego out. Because you must have a culture of egolessness, so that if anybody comes with their identity politics and their ego and, well, I'm not going to go for some dictatorial thing, I'm an anti-fascist and this sounds fascist, and you say, well, get the fuck out, because you're useless. You've got too much of a fucking ego to basically listen to basically what the commander just told you. So you'll never be a soldier. So get the fuck out of here. And so you must have that culture that basically people say, like, well, we don't want to be soldiers and regimented in an army, but you're stupid if you think that you can actually beat an army by not behaving like one. So you have to behave like one to beat the army. Part of the leader's responsibility to make sure that you unwind all the institutions that were used to defeat the psychopaths. So you don't, you know, Nietzsche, you be careful if you go after monsters that you don't become one. And that's the responsibility of the leadership and, you know, advisors and people like us. And in particular, the leader, they must step down. They must have the discipline to do that. I'm sure Faulty has the discipline to do that. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. So yeah, I don't think Faulty has an ego. So you know, that's, but you get the general picture of what I'm saying is that you must have a commander. It's absolutely up to him after lots of advice. It's absolutely up to him to make those decisions and what demands to, and then we enable them. But when, you know, you can argue the fact before the decision is made, but when the leader says that's the decision, then you have to switch, and you can only switch without ego. You have to say, well, I think it's fucking moronically stupid, but okay, switch. How do we make this shit that even I don't believe in, but we're gonna make it happen? You know, it's a challenge. Think of it like an engineer. It's like, okay, this is an impossible task, but we're going to make the impossible happen. And that's a winning army. But yeah, so I hope I make all that plain. I mean, that's what I think about it. Do you guys agree with all of this as a template? And then I'll think about how to explain it. But I mean, that's my
I
thinking on
think
it.
so. Would you say that like Lenin and the Russian Revolution is like a good example of what to do to win, but not what to do after you win?
Yeah, that's, you see, what happened with those guys is, this is the problem with ideologues. And this is in tankies in general, the Trotskyites and all these guys never fucking stop. So if you look at Nestor Makhno and the anarchists in the Ukraine, is they overthrew the Tsarist forces and the reactionaries, and then Nestor Makhno stepped down. He went and got a wife and kids and plowed a field. And the same happened with anarchists in Italy. If you look at Garibaldi and those guys, the guys are exactly like Faulty. Basically, he came from the farm. Garibaldi, all those guys were the Carabinieri and stuff. They were anarchists. They were farmers. And basically, he came from a farm. He led the Risorgimento, or whatever it's called, and he unified Italy and everything. And when the job was done, he said, like, that's it, back to the farm, and went back to plowing. And people said, but you can't go yet. You say like, no, the enemy's defeated. I'm not a settler, basically I'm a pioneer. So we've done the pioneering. Now go and do your fucking village mayoral stuff, but I'm a revolutionary. I'm not here to cut ribbons and shit. And so but yeah, you need those guys to be like that. Yeah. The left all forgot this. They didn't know it one time. They just fucking forgot it.
I have a comment. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
I'll wait.
No, you go.
Oh, thanks. Well, even in management school, I took management classes a long time ago, and they talk about leadership and situational management and situational leadership. Consensus is all well and good if you have time, but if it's an emergency, and which is what we are in now, and the leader knows the answer, and time is of the essence. After you gather, like from experience, what will work, and you, like you said, you listen to your generals or your assistants or your researchers, and then you make the decision. Because otherwise, everything will end poorly, because consensus takes such a long time. I mean, if you were brainstorming for a solution and you have a lot of time, or trying to make a new product, that's all well and good. But if it's critical and time is of the essence, then the leader should take the decision.
Yeah, so this is basic military training. During basic training, they teach you all this about leadership. They generally have 4 quadrants. So then, you have telling, selling, persuading, and then laissez-faire. So it's exactly as you say. If they're in officer training, they put you in situations where they have a team of 15 or something, and they say, okay, you're the leader. And then they say the situation. They say basically the enemy's 15 minutes away. You have to get over this river. Here's a few telephone poles and tractor tires. Organize these people. And then they want to see, given the circumstances, what style of leadership you choose. So in the thing where the enemy's 15 minutes away, you have to take an authoritarian style, and you say, you do this, you do that, you do that. You don't have time to fuck around. And then, then in another situation, they'll tell you, okay, something which has a lot more leeway, a lot more time. Then they want to see you adjust. And then you start saying, okay, guys, here's the situation. Give me some ideas. And then you back and forth and you tease out some ideas, and somebody says, hey, I got a great idea. And you say, yeah, we'll take that great idea and this will be plan B. And then that's more consensus. Then the laissez-faire stuff is something where you've got too much on your plate, a million things going on, and then you just say to somebody like, I need you to do this. Do you understand the situation? What the problem is? Okay, now go away and report back to me here, and this is what I'd expect the outcome. And so you've got to adjust for the situation. So, you know, as a leader, you'll be forced into one of those quadrants. But in general, you know, that's the way a hierarchy works, and a military hierarchy. But I mean, as an anarchist, hierarchies are odious, but every anarchist knows that you have to adopt a hierarchy to beat a hierarchy. You won't beat a hierarchy whereas you're a rebel. And the reason is discipline. You do need discipline. The Romans defeated so many tribal armies just with psychology. And one of the famous ones I'll just give you because it's so obvious why a rebel can't beat a hierarchy. And that was basically the barbarian shield wall. So the barbarians had this tactic, which was invincible. The Romans couldn't do anything about it, and was to build a shield wall. You know, say Gauls or something, they'd lock shields. And then you have all these phalanx of Romans coming at these shields, and they didn't make a dent. The guys would just, you know, swat them over the top of their shields. And so they were static line, and it neutralized the Romans. The Romans always got through a shield wall, and they got through with a feint attack. And what they did was they basically came up to the shield wall, fought and fought and fought and pretended that they were defeated, turned around and fled. Then to do that, you had to be very disciplined because you're acting a defeat. That's a very highly coordinated thing. Now the rebels behind the shield wall, they didn't have the discipline. And so when they saw that the Romans were running, they would break the shield wall and say, "Whoa, we've won," and they'd charge after the Romans. The Romans wouldn't get more than 100 yards when they'd form up again and then just sweep through their lines because the shield wall was broken. By the time the rebels realized they'd make a horrible mistake, they would never fall up again because they were a rabble. And so the left is kind of like that. They're this kind of rabble with shield walls, and then it's like collective intelligence. And the Roman army has a more collective intelligence because it's a hierarchy. Now, the ultimate hierarchy is a kind of a thing which you very rarely see, but you can do this in a cult, and you can do it if you get all the members to get over their ego. But it's a kind of a fluid hierarchy. So it means that all the members are entirely egoless, and they can fulfill any position in the hierarchy. So, you know, you could get the street sweeper or the maid or the butler, and if the lord of the manor is out or busy or on the shitter, they can easily, you know, put on the manner of the lord and do his business, so act like him and they just impersonate him. And then, you know, when the business is over, they take it off and go back to being the butler. So anybody could fulfill any role in the hierarchy. That is very, very powerful. So nobody is the leader. They also highly tuned and trained that they can all take over any position, and they could be a leader for a minute. You'd never know who the leader was because it was like, I'm Spartacus. It's like, no, I'm Spartacus. You know, so basically everybody could fool anybody because you have the role, but you don't have anybody that actually has the ego in that role. So you know, what they teach you in the military is that you hold an office, but you know that the rank is not the man. So they say, you know, they teach soldiers that when you salute an officer, you're saluting the rank, not the man. So that's a very important thing, because a lot of soldiers will say, well, I think that guy's a stupid twat, I'm not saluting him. And you say, no, a salute is you're saluting the position. You're not saluting the person that holds that position. And so the position and the person that holds the position are entirely different. So, but in most hierarchies, like a US corporation, people get appointed to a post and they say, well, now you're an executive. And we go, oh, I am an executive. Well, that's a very, you know, low level of collective intelligence, because everybody is really an ego in a slot. And it's like, you can't go very far with that. But if they're egoless fulfilling that spot, well, that's powerful shit. But anyway, so there you go. Leadership 101. Okay,
sure, I think that's...
Do you think we'll get away with away with this with 40. I think 40 will go for it, because I think it's very frustrated with the idea that it's so hard to herd cats on the left. And you say, like, well, it's not really in the cult format. Most of them are just playing along. They don't know. You don't ask them what the thing is, what the final goal is. And then the grades and degrees. And so, the inner circle knows more and about what's going on. But for the most part, the vast majority of people are just followers. And they are. They are just followers. A vast majority of people, you shouldn't ask them for input to a decision, because they are just followers. They don't have anything useful to add other than their ego. And you don't need their ego. It's superfluous.
Can I add my bit as the as the follower? Before you get to that stage with him, you're going to have to deal with his track record so far and what he's accustomed to doing, which is the conventional action and all the rest of it. I just wanted to say a couple of things. Was that rather than challenge the approach that XR has been taking for instead conventional activism, is don't challenge that with him, is leave it alone, because that needs to be there as a front. It needs to be kept up as a facade. It can be wound back a little bit so that it's not ruining so many people's lives by costing them money and giving them criminal records and all this kind of thing. You can still do these sporadic, keep up the public perception that XR is still going along their normal lines, being ridiculous, or however you want to look at it. But what you mean behind that, you're then doing all the things that you're suggesting. You are building, because doing the two things at the same time, using the facade and then doing the ARG behind that, it leaves also room for the people on the left who are never going to get over their leftness. So that leaves them a space to keep existing in their own delusion there. But the ones that you can convince and the ones that you can draw into the cult and manage to get them to dump some of their ego in it, you've got that. You can work with those. So there's a role for the ones that are sort of never going to be able to surrender their current perspective. And then but Faulty's going to be working behind that. So he might possibly, for instance, have somebody else take over his conventional organizing, and he'll just abandon that completely, and or just give it a token, recognition, and go over to the ARG behind the scenes. And I think a further advantage of looking at it that way is that you can't just go holus bolus into what you're suggesting. They've already spat him out once because he didn't suit them. And if he just completely goes off again, or goes off in a new direction, you could suffer too much damage if they spit him out a second time and say, no, we're just not going to, we don't want you to be part of this, blah, blah. And then he's left kind of exposed, because if he's going to set up the ARG, he's got no cover. He's just acting as the person establishing the cult all by himself, without any kind of smoke screen, any other silliness going on that will be helpful. So I don't know. I just felt that needs to be addressed first before it gets to the things that you just said a minute ago about the leadership. You've got to, and it also probably makes it easier to sell it to him, because it gives him. It's not saying to him, you've got to dismantle all of your work so far. It doesn't stand for anything. You've really got to shift camp. It's giving him the chance to at least see see that still standing. It just as a nominal thing, but it's still there,
Yeah, one of the reasons why I'd like some quality time one-on-one, or just two-on-one, or at least just a few people, is because there are a number of obvious subjects which are thorny. And you just raised one there. So one of the very first things that is a thorny subject is he's going to have a palace coup and get back his position within the movement. So, I mean, the movement has been hijacked. I mean, as far as I can see, it's been infiltrated and hijacked by the state. That's what it looks like. But the very first step is, I mean, I think, you know, the name, the symbol, and him are the entire movement. So he's got to take that on board, and I think he will. But he's got to do a palace coup and take back the movement. Or, you know, the various ways and strategies to do that. And one of the good things is that it's really America we're talking about. And Britain can go and become animal rebellion or just die on the vine. It's like, it doesn't really matter what happens in Britain. They can go and amuse themselves if they're not interested in the plan A. But it's all about America, and America isn't well established. So I think the first thing for the plan is how to regain control of the movement. And because it was unconscionable that he lost control of it. He should have fought, in my view. But again, it's all these nexus of conflicting ideas on the left, like, oh, you have to have consensus. Therefore, you can't fight a disastrous move like ousting him, which ends the rebellion. And it's like that's a catastrophic move. But you can't fight it. Why? Because then you're being an individualist, and then, you know, we're all collective, and so there's all these self-defeating shit which you can only get over if you just take them into a corner and say, look, you know, this shit doesn't work. Okay, so, and then once somebody says it, I'm sure if I say it, then it'll be fucking obvious. And then, but it's you know, there's resistance to getting in a corner and being told the truth, because a lot of it is just denial of the truth. So, you know, you've got to tiptoe through this. One of the things that you said, I think, is really important is that we have to concede on a number of fronts. And I think one of the things we have to concede is what gets done, the goals of the movement, we have to let go of. And we just say, we'll give you the methods, you know, the ways and means to do this according to cult/ARG. But, you know, I think we have to concede that if it's some dumbass plan, like everybody gets arrested and like, okay, fine. It's like, damn stupid, but okay, this is how you would do it. And then I think as time develops, we'll get more leeway to get a better strategy. But I mean, judging from the email, it's still, you know, like we have to decide what demands and to who. And it's like, oh, fuck, can't you get over this damn appeal to the government shit? It's like the government is useless.
Well, see,
it's
that
like,
blows his cover straight away.
Big.
If he's running the ARG, you don't make demands or talk to anybody. This because you just draw attention to the very part you don't want to draw attention to. You just do what you're doing.
Self-pedal that, right? I think we have to self-pedal that because
he's going to make a mess of the whole thing.
Okay,
if he starts saying, well,
we've got to be very careful on that, because you know what I would say in that case is like, okay, what demands do you want to make and to who? And it's like, well, we want to demand that the government takes climate action. And you know, the more you get definition on that bullshit, the more you see how stupid it is. So you say, okay, fine, what climate action? Well, you know, you start solar panels and wind farms, and it's like come on, we all know that we passed there's fucking solar panels and wind farms. So what you're saying is you want to lobby the government to basically give subsidies to green tech. Well, it's fucking useless, because basically it's going to do nothing for the CO2. So let's have a bigger goal, and that's say reduce the CO2.
But
the government isn't capable.
No, he'll just go back to the existing XR demands. That's what he's got in mind.
He knows that.
Sorry?
I think he knows that. And I think what you were saying, Gary, of keeping the smoke screen of a movement.
Yeah, if he makes demands, it blows his cover.
And that he goes along with the other guys who are still doing the same kind of thing, but behind the scene, he's getting more followers in the US, and working with the ARG can enable him to put much more energy into efficient activism, and it can enable him to regain us, to keep a certain place, but still make compromise with this kind of collective thing where other people let the other people do the usual rebellion that they do. He will not be so much part of it. Do you know what I mean? But there's still, he has to regain a place, but by letting other people do the traditional rebellion and getting him to get in. I don't know if I explained myself well, because I'm not so gifted with words as you are, but do you follow my drift? Or
Yeah.
So
Just want to say, from the US point of view, I see what you're saying, because in the US we have groups like BLM, the Sunrise Movement, and it seems like we have to at least get that, if we want some form of unification, get that together, and then we'll see who, we have that smoke screen of banner drops and all that, and then the real activism, and then the ARGs. So
yeah, I always thought that the ARGs superseded all that, because all that stuff's a load of bunk, and what that stuff is designed to do is to tackle.
It will just wither away, Hugh. I'm only suggesting that it's a beginning. A bit, obviously, you would just. It does two things. It enables Faulty to not make a complete lie of all the work he's done so far by keeping it going in a nominal kind of way for a little while. And it also acts as a smokescreen. But as time goes by, you just allow that to wither away. But I just wanted to make an additional point regarding the point he's made about the demands, is that you might be better approaching that with him from the point of view of what psychopathy is that it's no good making demands anyway, because you're demanding it from people who are not going to be able to, they're not redeemable. You can't change it from that. It's not going to be psychologically possible anyway. He's got to realize that his demands are trying to accomplish a psychological impossibility.
So do you think we could get away with arguing that really we should lower our sights and just accept that, we're heading for a big catastrophe? So there's no demand that you can make from the government. The only thing you can do to lower the greenhouse gases is really to lower the GDP. I mean, what 2008 proved and the pandemic proved, but there's a 1-for-1 relationship with GDP and greenhouse gas. And so you have to reduce the GDP to reduce greenhouse gas, and the government can't do that. So we have to write off the idea that we can actually influence greenhouse gas. And so then I think what's coming is that they'll do geoengineering, and at the expense of a worse long-term outcome. But in the meantime, I give them credit for doing, getting the average temperatures down by maybe 1 degree. So what it gives us is this world where it's very authoritarian. It's basically a very dystopian world where resistance is almost impossible. I mean, I see daily these moves left and right. I just posted something from Democracy Now! Where I can't freaking believe it. It's outrageous. They have us billionaires are paying the police and the National Guard out of their pocket to basically to confront activists and pipeline protesters with lethal force. It's fucking unbelievable. I mean, if guys are still talking about wind farms and solar panels, this is a red letter emergency. This is just going berserk. So the door for activism is closing, basically. So if we got to lower our sights and say, we just have to figure out a way to resist in the most dystopian totalitarian state environment. I mean, it's much worse than, say, the GDR or Nazi Germany and stuff. It's going to be surveillance and snitching and stuff at an extraordinary level because of the digital automation and stuff. People are so pacified. So we have to lower our sights, I think, and just say we've got to find a way of resisting and not get too into demands for government and stuff. We've got to think more in terms of just developing modes of resistance.
Well, you've always maintained that that's ridiculous, trying to appeal to government anyway. I mean, that's something you've maintained about XR from the word go.
Well, they're trapped. The government's trapped. I mean, the government would love to do lots and lots, but what they can do is very limited. And I've always said that the same with citizens' assemblies is what a citizens' assembly would be able to do less than a government. So it's like,
well, the logical extension of a citizens' assembly is exactly what you've got, a government. That's what it ends up as. You know,
the government has contacts. They have social networks. They have a whole ecosystem that CAs don't have. Now they would. I mean, in the long run, but it isn't.
In the long run, they would have.
A CA would make some demand, like some toddler kind of diktat, and there would be somebody would be affected, like the cement industry. Now, the cement industry is run by the fucking mafia. They'll break knees to stop that shit happening. Just because some 1,000 twats in a citizens' assembly say, "Thou shalt not make any more concrete." Well, if you think you're going to get around the mafia that way? Fuck off. Never going to happen. So it's ludicrous. It's just pie in the sky. What a government.
What I meant was
the mafia.
I mean, I realise there isn't a long-term left, but I mean, in the long term, I would just envisage citizens' assemblies being infiltrated and corrupted and just ending up being just like the government is now. But initially, that wouldn't be the case. But anyway, we don't have to go down that pathway. But
but it is important because I think we have to concede all of that. And we have to go along with it, play along with citizens' assemblies and demands for the government. And we just have to say, okay, well,
that's all part of keeping up.
You set the agenda, and we'll explain how to do it.
This is all part of keeping up the image of XR pursuing business as usual without alteration. Everybody's saying, yeah, well, that's XR, that's what they do, and they're just puttering along with their citizens' assemblies and their occasional gluing themselves to things and smashing a few windows, and letting all the people who want to do that, and just let that tick away. But meanwhile, there's something else going on behind the scenes, and that's what Faulty is devoting his time and energy to. And all the time he's wasting at the moment on conventional organisation there'll be somebody else that he knows who can take that over very willingly, and they will want to do it. And that.
It's nascent in America, right? There isn't any infrastructure in America, and what there is already split. They already have a divide between, XR America and XR US. So it's basically a complete waste of time. You're starting from scratch, as far as I can see. So I think that you forget all that old unworkable bullshit like banner drops and blockades. The time for that is gone. And so I think you take it as an ARG. You do it as an ARG, so everybody gets inducted into the game as an ARG. And they don't know. They shouldn't know. It's basically once you get initiated and you reach a certain degree, then you initiated into the secret knowledge, and part of the secret knowledge is we're all saving the world. And then, as you get higher and higher degrees, you get more and more secret knowledge. But you only reveal to somebody that it's for climate action when they're deeply embedded in the game.
Yeah, but can't you? I think there's a big opportunity in America when you look at it, because you've already got the split. You're going to get XR US, I think, is the one that's all heavily into the identity politics thing, and let them go.
I mean, as long as we can get Faulty's mind off the idea that any of that stuff matters as shit, it's just let it wither on the vine, or just do what it's basically just FUD. It's just a diversion. So just use it as a diversionary thing. But I mean, put zero effort and resources into that crap. Because
yes,
I
I'm
mean,
not suggesting put anything into it. Just let it run on.
yeah, but it did in the UK because basically it's just a Rotary Club for bourgeois eco-anxiety.
Yeah, but you are offering him
Yeah,
a new terrain with the US, you see, and for somebody who's been on the back burner for quite a while, and with the idea of the ARG and all that, I think it's going to be an extremely interesting prospect for him to let the reins go on the UK with his colleagues who are very happy to have him housed out anyway, and to give him this new. And I'm a bit curious about the implementation of this in the US. What sort
well, it's all online. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what I would like some one-on-one time to develop. But yeah, it's yeah. I mean, yeah, I got to try and communicate the vision here because the game. Forty talked about game designers and stuff like that, and I think that's the kind of route we need to take. Is think in terms of making something like Bright Axiom and get those guys. So I think we should go. We should get like Geordie Aitken and stuff, and really like to get Jeff Hull, but at least anybody we can get as a game designer for Bright Axiom and carry on pretty much where those guys were. Maybe Jason Segal and stuff. I know somebody that knows Jason Segal personally, but she's a little cagey about putting me in contact with it. But so yeah, but anyway, yeah, I think the vision is to try and work out the game, and the game is for recruitment. So the very first thing is you don't think of aims like making demands and stuff. It's like we'll make demands later when we see what the terrain is. At first, we're basically building an army, and the first is recruitment, and the recruitment is into a game. Nobody should be able to tell what they're being recruited into until it becomes, until they're really hooked and it becomes a big part of their life. Then they get inducted into more and more stuff, and the more and more stuff gets more and more exciting. But the problem is it's very, very niche to do the current thing, which is to say, well, we got to get people interested in climate change and raise awareness and recruit people for this. It's like, no, people are not inspired by that story. The story has to be grandiose, and you have to say, it's romantic. We're a secret cult, completely underground. We're saving the world, and we're going to let you in on the plan, and go like that. But it's far more, first getting the game going and organizing people around this romantic narrative, which they will develop too. And then you gradually, nudge the narrative drop by drop into the current circumstances. And then you drop in things like the storm or something, and then you define later, a storm could be 3,000 arrests, or it could be, strikes like cat strike, rent strike, wildcat labor strikes and stuff. But I think we concede that kind of goal is left up to faulty, and then we just show how you will get there with an ARG. But you got to take a long time recruiting and prepping, and not all this running around the street. It must be done undercover. As soon as you run in the street, the state starts moving against you. So it's got to be something that's the state doesn't consider a threat and a new thing. So you start developing all of this stuff online. I mean, the whole thing is like just follow what QAnon did. And so you start on 4chan, getting a like-minded kind of ethos. You get the egregore going, and you might be kind of shocked with what the egregore turns out to be. But you got to, yeah. We got a long haul, I can see, what Faulty needs to do is to realize that he's not steering people. He's not herding cats. He's a mirror reflecting people back to themselves. And he must realize, you know, that all these people, they are serving the interests of the collective, of the crowd. So basically, it's a mirror man, so reflecting this. So you have a bit of leeway to distort the image that you return, but it's pure narcissism for the crowd. The crowd wants to see itself and then develop its narrative with the leader. So you concentrate on that. You don't concentrate on demands for the fucking government. I mean, the government's not in this. It's a pure romance between the leader and the crowd. So the leader needs to explore on the, you know, on the podium in all these formats, do an Andy Kaufman, and basically discover, you know, this huge potential where it's basically you're exposing all the latent desires and all the hidden things and bringing them out from the players in the game or the audience. And so, you know, that once that's all established, then you can start moving into this kind of organizing mode. But fucking, you can't. To start from a blank slate and organize, it's just, what the fuck are you talking about? This is, what book did this come out of? It's retarded.
I like the idea of your allusion or mentioning of romance, like the mysterious goal to save the world is romantic, and then the romance between the leader and the crowd. From the interview that we had with Faulty, I felt he was, because he said, you know, because of his background, historically, the form of activism, he seemed to be pragmatic, but at the same time, like he's not wedded to what tools would be used to achieve goals. But at the same time, it seems like he would be measuring success based on his theoretical background of how activism was supposed to work in the days of the 60s or 70s or 80s. So I think it will be a big challenge to kind of counter his impatience, because like you're saying, it's like prepping the soil, and you can't have a harvest if you know, the seeds are not planted yet. So I think it'll be a big challenge, but maybe on the boat you'll be able to communicate better.
There's so much in what you said there, but I think that you're absolutely right. Part of the thing is to get rid of some of the baggage. So I think that underneath it, it's kind of like it was, you know, in terms of Faulty's character, he was actually made for the role. He's kind of been distorted by all the external influences and stuff he's read and stuff. It's kind of wrecked the raw material. So he seems like good raw material that's gone to waste with all the bullshit. So I think it's a question of him rediscovering what he knows is right. He has it in him to be a charismatic leader and be a cult leader, but he needs to be encouraged to find that role. And so he needs to be coaxed towards it, because, you know, the left doesn't allow him to do that. He's not allowed to be himself. And it's like saying, no, you have to be, you know, an outsized version of yourself. You need to start discovering that. But yeah, it's in terms of goals and where reasonable goals, I mean, is first of all, it's like dangerous to think in terms of goals, but the goals at first are very abstract. It's like, you know, what's your goal for a romantic outing or something like that? You know, like, well, I want to get the girl in bed pronto. It's like, oh, okay, whoa, Faulty. It's like, let's just say, like, the goal should be like establishing stuff, establishing rapport, establishing mutuality. You know, basically, think more in terms of these more abstract things. We'll get to concrete goals like, you know, okay, now I get my hand in her knickers. It's like, whoa, no, it's like, hold on. It's like,
Very concrete goals.
Yeah, it's like little too concrete. Let's just find out, you know, each other's backgrounds, whether we like the same music. You know, it's like, that's what you're doing at first. We'll get there, Faulty. Don't worry. Just don't rush the maiden. but he's got this idea that you can start cold and just whip people up to take over the government. It's like, no, you have to wait for opportunity. And so you have to spend endless time cultivating and prepping and getting ready for this thing. And when the government fucks up, that's when you strike and do all of these things, which he thinks you just do on the cold. But the government is moments away from doing something spectacularly stupid. I mean, we've got to move fast just because, there's a financial great reset coming. Now, there's going to be a big opportunity with a lot of pissed off people. And if you have the formula for how to express that pissed off thing, you win. That's what happened with the Arab Spring. Is all the extremists and radicals, they all hijacked the Arab Spring because they all had a plan. They all knew, they all had their egregore together. They all knew what it was like to be an Islamic fundamentalist. They all knew that we're here to establish Sharia law. And so they all worked in unison. All the other guys say, yay, we've got the government. Now what? I don't know. What should we do next? And it's like, yeah, of course, the extremists just ran over them because they were prepared. And so it's much more, you have to establish the egregore, and then, the concrete plan will present itself when the government fucks up. But the government's going to go to war soon or do something immensely stupid, or they're going to be bread riots or something like that. But then you can immediately take advantage of that with the public outrage. But you have to start prepping people with the idea that that day is called the storm, and this is what we'll do. And you'd have these people prepped to be militant, these people to organize. So basically you would say, right, put the plan into action, flick the switch, and then everybody runs. But it takes a long time to get there. In the meantime, it looks like you're doing bugger all. But you're brewing this, you've got to brew and ferment a revolution. You can't get there by, okay, what's the path to action after this meeting? It's like, go away and think. It's basically establishing an egregore. It does not say, like, what's the goal to establish, hive mind today? Well, let's make sure that we have 20 people integrated in the hive mind by Wednesday. It's like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? It's bullshit. So you have to develop the story, back and forth. It's, an exchange and a dialogue between all the members and the people in the game, and then develop it. So
that's exactly what de Gaulle was saying when he started to develop the resistance when he was in England. And I was reading his memories not long ago. Again, I reread them because it's this slow, powerful kind of prepping. And also, very interestingly, from the same example, a leader who totally disappeared afterwards when he was not needed anymore. Who let his complete, just, okay, fine, and then came back and then disappeared again. There's a lot to learn in that French personality. It's controversial, but there's a lot of things in what you're saying that are just resonating from what I learned when I was younger, observing.
Well, I mean, I think we're staking everything on the fact that Faulty has the legs to be one of those people. I mean, I think he does. So he doesn't have it all. He's not self-contained with all the ingredients to be that personality. But in a way, I think that's good, because we can augment it with people that design the game and people that advise them, and we can make it a collective activity. So, but he can play the role, and the role is the cult leader. Yeah. Yeah,
he has to get to Greece. So what is?
Yeah, I think that more and more. I guess we Yeah, I guess we're just going to have to take it as it comes, and just
the next interview with him, because he said in his email that he was looking forward to meet with us again. So
yeah, what's
you have
when should we meet?
open.
When are you guys around for the next one?
Well, for me, I mean, personally, I'm open to any time, any day, if it's for that cause. But it's for him to. I think the agenda for the next meeting should be geared towards getting him to move his arse away from where he is, and just maybe get a couple of people with him to travel.
Yeah.
While the UK, because the cases in the UK are going up like mad. Now, I don't know what other
Yeah.
regulations, traveling and all
Well,
that. But it's looking a bit, not
the numbers
great.
are going up in Greece, and the prime minister just came out today and said, like, they're not going to do another lockdown. They said basically the economy is more important and people have suffered enough, so they said, like, fuck the numbers, we're just going for the economy. And I think that most Greeks feel that because they rely on tourism, so they're much more fucked than the average country. But
It's the same in Ireland. They're just ready to sacrifice anything to get the hospitality, tourism, and thing and working. And but if you look at the figures in Europe, it's looking like the next few months are going to be totally. You just don't know what's going to happen. So I think if he can travel now, soon, is the best time, because you can't make. I think
that's what I think. Yeah,
be as
it's got to
quick
be
as
soon.
possible. While you've got this kind of summer thing where they're opening, even if he had to fly, I know he wouldn't fly, but I don't know. But the boats are still going fine. There's the tests are. It's easy to get to the mainland yet from England to Europe, and because we don't know it by September, October, it could look very grim. I don't know. I don't know. But
well,
no.
yeah, I mean the numbers are going up in Israel, which implies, I think they got 53% vaccination, so it implies that the vaccinations are not working, which is kind of what I thought for the Delta variant. I don't think they're working, so it's like, yeah, predictable. But what it means is everybody will have a bit of a laugh for the summer, pay for it in the winter. So I think we've got to move quite fast.
Well, maybe use that, because I mean the general tendency is just people are fed up. You want to go out. I mean, who escapes that? Even the likes of Faulty, and his friend or whatever who would go with him. I think it is an opportunity now to try to focus on trying to seduce as much possible, to take a break, and with the aim of furthering our agenda. Then
Well, you might just have to say to him, look, this could be the window of opportunity we just can't afford to miss, because if he doesn't take advantage of it now, the chance might not come again.
Well, that's why the next email should be offering,
and also
maybe the meeting soon, and making arrangements, concrete arrangements, very in a short while, maybe with a private call with you or with Gary or whoever to arrange that. But two things in parallel: meeting to talk. But I think practically we need to focus on getting him out of the UK.
Yeah, I think so too. I realized from that response, it's very good response, but I can see there's a long way to go. So we just got to chisel away at it, I think. And yeah. But yeah, I think at this stage we just try and concede a lot of the stuff which we think is bullshit. but it just go for the positive, right? And just, I think as it's a difficult concept to understand, but I think if we have another call, so let's set up. I'll set up. I'll say, whatever day suits you, but this sort of time is good, right? Everybody's good with this, or maybe 5 o'clock. 5:47.
Is that earlier? What time are we at the moment?
5:30.
5:30. Yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not going
that's
to.
fine for me.
Okay, if everybody's
Yeah,
okay, then
just
I'll say 5.
Okay.
UTC, and say any day, because I'd make any day. So it's important. Okay, so then when we do that, then I think yeah, we'd let Faulty lead and ask questions and stuff, and try and explain the concept a little bit further, and see how far we can go with pushing, boats. Just basically a retreat and just having a crash course in how to do this.
I think the idea of retreat is a very well chosen term, because I think that if we can channel him into this type of psychological appeal to him to be in a place, as you said, close to nature, you can apply all your wits and talents to groom.
My persuasive abilities.
Yeah,
I being an idiot.
I think
It's generally my persuasive abilities.
And I think that we need to talk about the window opportunity at the moment with COVID, that it might not be possible soon, and that to try to get him, I mean, I don't want to sound impatient, but and we don't want to get that across to him too much, that we are impatient, but I think he needs to realize that it's crucial that he might make it. I don't know how his life is, if he's busy or whatever, but I think it's at the moment it's easy in a way to travel, because the whole atmosphere is, people are just, oh, it's the summer, and so you might appeal somewhere to him to just just go.
Yeah. So okay. So one of the things can we offer in this, that we will get together all these people, because now he's asked about game organizers, and so maybe we could try to get Geordie Aiken and stuff and start, talking to him. Lionel Snell, I was very pleased with him. He watched my videos and stuff, but then I'm a little worried now, because he said he's got sick, and he said he's sneezing and coughing too much to chat, but as soon as he's better, then we will chat. And he said, I hope I haven't got COVID. But I was like, oh no, God, please no, don't get COVID now. But anyway,
hay fever is terrible this year with the rise in CO2. I'm suffering from it. So there's a lot of sneezing and coughing around. Like, it's just up until July, it's going to be like that. It's just everywhere.
Well, I hope he gets better soon. But anyway, I thought, him, and I think we should start putting out feelers to maybe some more of the guys that were involved in Bright Axiom and stuff. There was a girl who set up a lot of the game, an artist and stuff. But
yeah, I can look that up. Are you talking about in Bright Axiom? There was a designer there. Oh,
yeah,
I was looking at a few producers from the Jejun Institute.
Yeah,
I'll also check out, because I did reach out to Geordie again, but he hasn't responded. So I don't know if he changed his mind, but I'll try again.
But Spencer was telling us the last time he would be happy to engage again with us. So we could eventually, if other people are not available for some reason, we could reach out to him again. And it might be interesting, because even though he's not directly involved in the creation of the game, he's got a great attitude and experience in that.
Oh yeah, no, I took him as kind of red, but that would be quite a good crew right there, quite a good team of those. But man, I would love to get Jeff Hull. Yeah, I guess we got to tiptoe slowly towards getting him. I don't think it'd be easy to get him, but
Can I go back again, Hugh, as usual? Wind you back a little bit. It's the problem with getting up in the middle of the night for these talks. is I don't think he's the kind of person who is going to be sold on a nice retreat and something for him. I think he's too bound up in his dutifulness and his responsibilities and his work. Personally, I wouldn't waste time trying to sell him this in terms of something nice for him personally, you know, as a holiday, as a break. I just don't think that's going to cut any mustard with him at all. You're going to have to just stick with the other points. Because I could tell, like, you know, if you think back to the emails that we were sending him, just trying to get him to respond to the auction that there was, and it was just basically, oh, I'm involved. I'm the subtext was, I'm an important organizer here, and I can't be distracted from my vital work, you know, and I don't have 5 minutes to breathe. And even in that time when we spoke to him in the when the first interview we had with him, you could see there, he said, oh, I'm off, I'm lecturing all next week or every day next week or something like that, one place to the other. He's just going to, that's his life. I don't think he's now got an interest or a space for this, you know, niceties like that. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, it's, well, yeah, I mean, it's, I mean, I think of it as a working thing. It's just, it's, I just don't feel that you can go very far just on, you know, with these online conferences. They're good, but you need a bit of stew time, a bit of think time and stuff like that. It's, yeah. Well, let's see how we do. Let's see if we can tiptoe towards it.
Yeah, but so any suggestions about how to get him to accept this invitation? So is there any other I maybe a private call, just not conference, but just a face-to-face, either Gary or Hugh probably would be the best. I don't know.
I can't think of any way. I think at this stage, what we probably have to do is to just let him take the lead, and, you know, at some time, if it makes sense, say, look, this is the only way it's going to work, is if we just give block of time, just give lots of thought to work all of this stuff out. But yeah, I think that's what we'll have to do. But yeah, you see, if he leads and we just listen, at some stage I think he'll get to a big topic that would take longer than an hour to get into, and so, like, you know, so yeah, I think yeah, I'm starting to think that's the way to get there, is to get to a point where he realizes that it's just not working on these kind of calls. So if we, you know, if we have an hour call and then maybe another one, and you're like, yeah, it's going to take a lot longer than just these calls, you know, intermittently to work it out.
So we're going to do an invitation to him for another call, very short, maybe next Sunday or before that.
Yeah, I'll send a reply saying any day this time, and then yep, we take it.
Keep at it.
But I guess he has to lead from now. Oh well, yeah, it's
like. Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, ultimately, you know, it has to be his choice, and to him it has to feel like his choice. We can't be seen trying to, like, prod him, you know, or coerce him towards it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think we just have to be passive about it, really. Yeah, I think we just have to keep on giving more and more bait. So just, yeah, I guess we have to just open the kimono more and more. So I guess I think we've done pretty well so far. So far.
Yeah, we just gotta
Could go
put the
better than the
sweetener
past.
on. Gotta keep
Yeah,
putting the
I
sweetener
don't
on,
think
and
it can
maybe he'll
go
take a
better.
bite.
Yeah. We have to leave it up to the fates now. But, yeah.
At some stage here, might not it be better just to make a plain statement? Just say, you know, look, we really don't think this is going to get off the ground unless you're willing to have the sort of intensive time.
Yeah, the thing is,
know.
it's to get there in a positive way is going to be fucking difficult. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're going to have to get it so that it's kind of inserted as an oblique shot somewhere. But yeah, yeah, okay. I think this has been good to talk about because I think it's certainly talked me into the right frame of mind, and I think the right frame of mind is just soft pedal it and let him take it a bit from here and just see where he wants to take it. I think is the best thing.
It's like fishing.
Yeah. I wish there was an easier way, but yeah, it's. I feel there's a lot at stake, because it's like I've waited 2 years for this. And I think what the hell will I do if this all goes down? I feel like it's like 2 years of work wasted.
I had a question about if you or somebody in the group mentioned Faulty's name to Jeff Hall, will it draw him out, you think? Or he's not interested?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, but you see, it's difficult because what I would like to say to Faulty is just ring Jeff Hall. He'll definitely take your call. But
yeah.
I think that's kind of what our job is supposed to be. We're supposed to do that. I don't know. Do you think we could? See that? Yeah, I mean,
maybe after Faulty agrees to get on the boat, then you can say,
yeah, no,
well,
I would. I mean,
got Faulty on the boat.
Yeah, no, I would definitely. I would leverage that to say, look, this is a golden opportunity. I think we must milk it for all it's worth to get anybody that that's there's so many people that you can get that would be on board with the plan and offer help and stuff. I mean, it's the right time. There's so many people that are thinking there's something's got to be done. You can feel that there's a storm break waiting, and I think everybody can feel this coming on, the steamroller coming on, and nobody really knows what to do with it. So I think you could have a dam burst if you said hey guys, shit's rolling. People would be like, I want in. So yeah, maybe we should sell that. Yeah. There we go. Maybe that's the key.
Well,
is to say, yeah, we need to basically, it would light the spark to just say that's it. Isn't that it? Is we need to say, we need to light the spark. That then everybody wants to get on board something. Everybody's kind of stymied. They don't know what to do. You say, we've got to do something to light the spark. And we say, that's it. We have the retreat. You get everybody involved in it. We'll line people up and we'll use it to light the spark, so that there's new game in town. And I think there'd be so many people that would want in on a new plan, because everybody's out of ideas, aren't they? And we're sitting there with
it's like a sparkling egregore.
Yeah. But I mean, am I wrong? I think there's so many people that would get on board this. That, I mean, guys that are really on the fringe that are doing Allison type things and stuff, and they're saying yeah, we got to get real. This train is leaving the station.
So maybe instead of in the future, instead of focusing on a meeting where we interview one person, we get together people who
I
are
was
we
kind
talk
of
about
thinking.
it, and we
No, I
just
was thinking that.
connect these nodes and see what happens.
No, but that's what my thinking was all along. That's what I was trying to do with Kevin and all of those guys. It's just that they very, very hard work, as we just seen in the last interview. It's like these guys are not coming out of their shell, right? You see, I was kind of blindsided in this last interview, because that's what I was thinking is we talk to these guys, we interview them, establish a bit of rapport, and then, you know, weave it all together into a big party. But it's kind of shocking in a way. It's like, come on, aren't you on this team? You write this stuff, you say all this stuff, but you're completely out to lunch. you just like writing about it. You don't want to do anything. Okay, I get it. But the same happened to me.
You do a big thing, let's say on a symbolic day, or I don't know, Bastille Day or something, where there's Kevin, Dmitry, Faulty,
I kind of see it that way.
Let it happen.
I kind of see it that way. So all of my companies I've started, I've basically bootstrapped them from the ground up with virtually no funding, on just about vapor. And that's the way to do it, is you basically bring people slowly in to this thing where suddenly everybody thinks, wow, this is really happening. And suddenly everybody's mind explodes and they go, fuck, this is probably the best team that's ever been assembled to do this. So they, yeah, it takes a long time to get, people out of their egos and to say like, okay, what I always want to say is, okay, very nice. Okay, enough about you. Shelve your fucking ego. Are you interested in this? You just can't say that. You have to go, well, I'm very interested in your ego, and that's all very nice. And tell me more about your mother. And you're like, anyway, back to climate change. And it's like, oh God, this is such agony. Can't you just, it would be so much easier to be famous, to say, to be like Elon Musk and say, guys, we're going to tackle climate change. This is it. Having a big rock concert. Everybody's going to be there, and we're going to get shit done. And everybody's like, oh, I want to be there. Everybody's like turning people away at the door. But, it's if you're starting from this, you got to convince people. See the vision? Oh, yeah, he sees a little bit of the vision. See this one, it's like, have a little sniff of this, come. You gather all these people around. Eventually you say like, yeah, you see? And they go, ooh. And they all think they saw it all before. But yeah, to me, I can definitely see, something snowball out of that. So I think maybe that's it.
Yeah, you lead them in the circle, and then simultaneously everyone connects the dots, and then boom.
Yeah, I think this might be the pitch to Faulty. Yeah. That is sounding good.
It's sounding very good. I've applied that in my life in many occasions where I've brought together totally different people from, you wouldn't know what different horizons, and the results were absolutely fantastic. And it's just the alchemist kind of boo, you just let it happen.
Yeah, it's a lovely moment when everybody suddenly realizes, with this kind of awestruck dumbness, that you're saying like, my God, this is fabulous. It's all these people came together and they're all just perfect for the role, and everybody's like, yeah. And then everybody thinks there's nothing we can't do. And then that's where you want to get to. We'll get there. But so yeah, okay. So but anyway, we must get more of these people. That can do stuff or not.
Given that we've spoken to Spencer McCall, would he know how to contact Jeff Hull, or whether it's even possible?
Yeah, yeah, I was tiptoeing towards that. I was hoping we'd get another interview with him and we could start talking about this, you know.
Okay.
And then
Do you want
bring,
to have an interview with him soon or wait?
yeah,
Okay. Maybe.
yeah. But you know, we got so many cool people, like from, you know, GDR and all of the, it all fits together so nicely. And once you've got some kernel going, you can, you know, move outwards and get much more famous people. But if they, you know, it doesn't seem to work with people with an ego. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, but if you get people who've got a big ego like Dmitry, or maybe Kevin, I don't think so much. He's just somewhere else. But and if we manage to get the mother of all meetings with a mixture of all these kind of things, some things could happen that would strip people from a lot of their ego, because they would be in a total unknown territory with a thing that would be, you know, and being that this online thing seems to be working and that much more is happening than we can actually realize. I really think that in the future we could think about this kind of melting pot of all sorts of, you know, people we have in the past met and talked to, and get them together and just whatever, no agenda, and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, but the idea of getting together and, you know, doing this kind of ARG or you know, a movement is really kind of nice. The yeah, what was I going to say about that? Something you said there. I lost it.
Spencer anyway. and Spencer McCall was telling us the last meeting that it was difficult to get Jeff Hull to get interviews, and you were going to try. You were talking about trying to get through to him again about on this issue, because he was saying it's quite difficult to.
Yeah, but
Hugh, I always thought that your plan was to do this kind of thing, but that would be done when Faulty is with you on the boat, not before.
Yeah.
That it's a draw card. It's not because if you do it before he comes, he might use that as a reason not to come and say, "Oh, well, we'll just do it all this way."
Oh no, sorry, I wasn't clear there. I meant we talk to these people. I didn't mean with Faulty.
Oh, not I see, just us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, are we just wasting time? Are you better off just getting those people together when he's with you, and taking it from there? Because we're not you know, remarkably amazing people as we are. We're not. He's the one who's got to be who's doing it. You know.
I think everything would crystallize around him pretty rapidly, in fact. But should we get hold of the guys who have that Megamart thing in Area 15?
That sounds like a good idea. It's just
there was one guy that started it. There was one.
Yeah. I can dig into it. Yeah.
You see, I made the claim that in America there are lots of things like that people that might be sympathetic and would, you know, they've got their own thing which they would definitely be sympathetic to climate activism and stuff like that, leading, because they're virtually art projects, and artists and that they're really activists. So I've always thought you could rely on those kind of people to pitch in, and they kind of ideal. So it might be worth sounding them out.
Yeah, sure. I'll dig into it to see. Yeah, I watched that YouTube video, and it was pretty amazing stuff that they have.
Yeah, but you see, what I had in mind was that they're doing an ARG, right? But theirs is closed-ended. So I get the feeling that they would love, you know, they're doing more and more of those stores and stuff. But I think that they might love the idea that you say, you take that store, you give, you know, a rabbit hole in each one of those stores that expands into this bigger ARG. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure they'd go like, yeah, that's good. Because, I mean, how many times can you go to that store before it's like, oh, well, novelty's worn off now. You've got to go on to something else. And so it would give them the next step in their story. I think there are a lot of people like that in the States because, you know, Mike, there's so many of those kind of things, weird shit, you know?
Yeah.
Well, there are in the Northwest anyway.
Yeah.
And so, you know, people that have, you know, magical mystery tours and this, I mean, in Seattle and so, just so many of those kind of things. And then, you know, the idea of having a little coffee shop, which is a really complete front and it's a complete rabbit hole. I always like the idea of having like a magical space. So you don't set up a shop, you set up a magical, so in other words, it changes all the time. So you start off as having a little kind of Harry Potter coffee shop, and it's like the Doomer coffee shop or something. And you go in there and it's exactly like a Mega Mart. And then you only do that for a week or two, and then you change it. And so it's suddenly, you know, kind of an antique shop or something, or you know, Harry Potter bookshop. And then, you know, you walk in there and say, I thought this was a coffee shop. And say, no, it's always been a bookshop. Can I help you with it? And then you give them a book that say, I think you might be looking for this book. And yeah, and then they'll go and, you know, they'll get the idea that magic shit happens in the square. It's not just the oldie coffee shop or something open-ended. I mean, something open-ended, not closed-ended. So
there's something that young people are doing in Ireland in things called escape rooms. And it's funny little places that are scattered in some cities, and you go into there and woo, it's just like another universe that changes all the time, and it's a total underground and parallel kind of people. They're really in another universe there. Do you have those escape rooms in the US?
They're all over America. There's escape from the room. Yeah. So, and a lot of those people that do those escape rooms, they done previous art projects and things like that, and they've done things pretty much like ARGs, so it's pretty native to them. Yeah. I mean, that's what I have in mind, is to tap into all of that and say, you know, like taking art and that subversive thing and unifying it. And I think, you know, Faulty is a figure which you could unify all that kind of thing around. Well, I'm glad we had this talk, because it's kind of surfaced that really what I think will work, right? Yeah. Well, that's cool. Any other things, or should we end it?
Well, it's 2 hours, probably.
So I guess a good thing to do would be to look for individuals to talk to.
Yeah, maybe we should go, all of us should go out and have a look to see if we can find things like a Megmart and stuff, and then find people that have done weird stuff, even the paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
And you can get wacky very quickly down the paranormal thing, but you can take a little foray down there and see.
I had an interesting situation happen a few days ago. I was looking up Ramdas, you know, you know that guy, and then somehow something in my mind went back to, and we spoke about this guy Ram LZ, and I said, wait, is Ram? What's this Ram thing?
No, we talked about Ramdas palming the LSD and stuff like that.
Oh, no, right.
Yeah, Ramdas was he palmed the LSD
right.
when Timothy Leary went to go and see him.
Okay.
And Timothy Leary was so impressed because he gave him like 15 LSD pills or uppers or something. No, LSD. Yeah, and so Ramdas palmed them because those guys are fakers. They're pretty good magicians, and so he didn't know that.
Right.
He thought they were all straight up legit spiritual
Right.
guys, and so but he palmed those 15 and he pretended to take them. And then he went like, oh, you know, no big deal. Because, you know, Timothy Leary and those guys were like, no, Ram Dass, not Timothy Leary. Ram Dass was, no, hang on. Ram Dass went to see this guru guy. I can't remember the guru guy's name. But yeah, Ram Dass
Right.
gave him these 15 pills and he just palmed them and then pretended to take them. And then Ram Dass was like, whoa, this is going to be amazing to see what this guy does. And he did nothing. He just acted completely normal. And so then Ram Dass went around the whole world writing books saying all this, you know. And then, but he was exposed by one of his right-hand men or something. And he said, nah, what the guy did was he palmed them. And then some other fools came up, you know, they came up the mountain pass and then he gave them dasan, you know, an audience. And then they give prasana, which and prasana is like a little something magical. So you have like, it can be like a bit of dust or a bit of hair or anything. But anyway, often something from the fire, you know, from the puja. And so then he took a little bit of ash and gave them as prasana. So, you know, I said, like, put a little bit of this on your tongue. And but he crushed the LSD pills in the ash. And so these guys, they were, you know, these Westerners, they go down the hill again and they're all like tripping on the bus. And then they went and said, you know, you got to see this guru guy, you know, man, he's the real deal. When we came back from there, we were seeing stuff. And that's how these guys operate. Like,
Right.
yeah, Ram Dass didn't know that. He's a bit naive.
And I was just trying to say that, yeah, I'm sure we'll think these people will come up, like, and I'm sure we'll be able to reach out to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What you really need is kind of rogues. So they trickster figures. Not see some of these guys take themselves too seriously, and so the paranormal guys and they often take themselves a bit too seriously. But you need people that are absolute, you know, the charlatans and harlequins and tricksters. And
there's
guys,
5 of them in Ireland.
yeah.
I just have to go and dig a bit, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Ireland's a treasure trove.
Oh my God.
Isn't it? Yeah. It's a treasure trove. But yeah, there's no limit to. I mean, you can even go wacky, like, you know, eventually guys like David Icke and stuff will not be on the pale. The thing is that you can put anybody in the mix because, you know, they don't have to be a permanent fixture. You could just visit and then everybody goes, what the? And then you're like, oh, tricked you. But yeah, it's a Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff was a good model for this. Gurdjieff, they called him the something rascal, but yeah, he was just a trickster figure, and he tricked everybody, but he always with the aim of raising their consciousness and getting past ego. And that's...
My father had Gurdjieff's books on his bedside, and I was always amazed to look. When I was a child, or young girl, I didn't understand anything. I was just digging into this, and he was exactly that sort of character. So I can understand exactly what you mean by Gurdjieff's persona. I've never really got near to read completely all his things because I started, but I suppose because of a family thing, I was kind of, oh my God, my dad like that, and I was like, but he's intriguing. His story is just absolutely amazing, like his life and his.
Oh, it's all bullshit. Yeah, it's all bullshit. You got to be very careful with Gurdjieff. he talks complete bullshit. He's just taking you on a ride. But he had all sorts of stories, like they had all he lets you in on information, and often like secret information. But he does it so that you can read the book at many levels. And if you just take the story, which is what most New Age people do, they read the story and then go, oh, Gurdjieff went with his group. He went across the Gobi Desert and they took all these sheep and then they mixed the sheep with sand and fed them to the other sheep. And that's how they crossed the desert until there was only like one sheep left. And then they just made it across. And it's like, you can't, slaughter sheep, grind them up and feed them to other sheep, dudes. he's out taking the piss. But you see, what he was saying is that was the group. He's leading you into that group that he was in. So it gives you lots of hints about hidden stuff if you're not a dipshit. But anyway, the school that I was in traced their line directly from Gurdjieff. So I got a lot of that kind of stuff. But even the layered brain stuff leans on, he did Man with Three Brains or something like that. Beelzebub's Tales to his grandson, and he comes up with a lot of stuff which is close to the alien cortex.
That's the one, the Tales to his grandson, that I used to see on my father's bedside table, and I was kind of wondering what this mysterious, and I couldn't understand those writings. I was looking at it, I was like, what on earth is he reading? Like, what is this? Because the beginning is telling you basically, you shouldn't be reading this anyway. It's like telling you, what the fuck are you doing reading this? First, you have to start in order. You can't start with this. You have to go back to the other books. And it's like an ARG. It's like, it's telling you, well, you're in the wrong place. Yeah.
He was doing an ARG with dance and stuff, but he broke people's ego down. He did the same thing in the military. He broke people's ego down and then built them up and stuff. But he would do stuff like hand round a plate. So take it like after dinner, he would hand round a plate full of money, and he would say to all his disciples, he'd say like, here, take something. But they'd all be coins, and then there'd be like a $50 or something, $100 note. And then everybody, they all were good disciples, so they all took the smallest coin or something. And then I think once there was this little guy, and he just went like, fuck it, took the $100 note. And then Gurdjieff looked at him with a little twinkle in his eye, because he said like, yeah, that was the right guy. He said he wanted he was looking for the person that would take the $100, because they were beyond the stage of ego. So you can see there's a subtle ego that says you have an ego of humility, and then you don't take the money. So what the little guy proved was that he didn't have an ego, because he knew that you're supposed to take the little one, and he went, oh, fuck it, take which is more honest. Anyway, subtle stuff. And one of the things that Gurdjieff said was, there's only so much gold leaf to go around. So if you go now and look at those, there's still those houses and stuff, they're still in France where Gurdjieff was. If you go to them, you'll find they have no knowledge. They're just going through the motions. Gurdjieff did a lot of dance and a lot of moves. And they're still doing them, but they're cargo culting. They can't tell you why they're doing those moves. They're just doing it because the master kind of taught them, and they become formulaic, and they've lost it. Now, Gurdjieff himself said that each leader like Gurdjieff has so much gold leaf, the way he's saying, so much kind of consciousness to spread around, so much wisdom and stuff to spread around a certain number of people.
But that's the genesis of religion, isn't it? That's the genesis of religion.
They are religions now, and the same thing happened to the cult I was in. When people ask, what cult were you in, I hesitate to tell them, because I know what they're going to do, and they're going to go and research it. Well, it's okay if they're just researching it to research me. But what's dangerous is they will go and join it and say, like, look, if you're one of those guys, don't go and join the cult I was in. I checked up on them for years and years and years. So after the guy who started it, Lynn McLaren, died in 1994, I went routinely to the schoolhouses and met people to just check up on them and see their spiritual state. And it went down and down and down. And then you go to them now, they don't have any knowledge. They're teaching the old teachers. They've lost the wisdom behind the explanations. They don't have any insight. They're just going through the motions. And so you'll never reach enlightenment hanging out with those
But they've
guys.
lost the connection.
Yeah. And Gurdjieff warned people about it, but the level of consciousness is so low that they don't even know that they've lost it. You know? Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me at the end of that book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, how, you know, they do the whole spiritual enlightenment thing. Then Jonathan leaves, and then over time their cult loses touch with what the spirit of it was.
Yeah, it just gets formulaic and religious and stuff. It's like, well, you know, you try and ferret out Jesus from the Catholic Church. It's like a very, very remote figure. It's like what's left of Jesus in the Catholic Church is like fuck all virtually.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny too, because in that story, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, before he left, he said, "Do not let them make me into a god," and that's exactly what they fucking did.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, that whole side of things is an important part for Thotti, and I get the impression, you know, that's all new stuff. It's like I don't think he understands any of that part. So got a long way to go. Shit. Well, anyway, okay. So well, I guess that's it. Unless anybody's got any other questions. Okay. Well, let's pause and just go out with a bang. Oh, fall still. Come to a sense of awareness. Give up everything, have no attachments, no goals, no aim. Sacrifice anything that you might want to cling to and let it go. Om Paramatmane Namah. There we go. Let it be in the hands of the gods. All right. See you guys later.
See ya. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Happy 4th.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, happy 4th.